Hello there, and welcome. I am so glad you have found your way to this quiet corner of the world. Wherever you are right now, whatever the day has held, let this be a moment to soften. Let the noise of the world recede, like a tide pulling gently away from the shore, leaving only the smooth, quiet sand of your own awareness. Tonight, we will not travel to the stars or across distant lands. Instead, we will journey inward into the silent, hidden places of the earth we call home. We will listen for the planet's oldest and softest whispers, the stories told not in words, but in water and stone, in pressure and in time. Life on this world is a tapestry of wonders, woven in threads of resilience and mystery. Some of these wonders are grand and visible, but many more are quiet, unfolding in darkness, in slowness, in places we rarely think to look. There is a rhythm to this planet that moves far slower than our own hearts. It is a rhythm of geological time, of deep ocean currents, of life that measures its existence in millennia. Tonight, we will try to tune our own breathing to that ancient pulse, to feel the deep, steady calm that lies beneath the hurried surface of our everyday lives. So, find a comfortable position. Let your body feel heavy and supported. Take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine you are releasing the weight of your thoughts, letting them drift away like dandelion seeds on a gentle breeze. There is nothing to do right now, nothing to solve. There is only this space, this quiet, and the gentle curiosity of a mind at rest. Let us begin our journey into the earth's gentle, sleeping heart. Beneath the crashing waves and sunlit surfaces of the ocean, there is another world, a world of profound darkness, of crushing pressure, and of a silence so deep it feels like the absence of time itself. As we imagine ourselves descending, the light from above begins to fade. First, the warm reds and oranges disappear, then the greens and yellows, until only a deep spectral blue remains. This is the twilight zone, a world of shifting shadows and ghostly creatures. We continue downward, past this realm of fading light, into the midnight zone. Here, there is no sun. The darkness is absolute, a perfect, velvet blackness broken only by the cold, fleeting lights of bioluminescent life. The pressure is immense, a weight that would crush anything not born to this world. The water is achingly cold, just a few degrees above freezing. The silence is the loudest thing here. It is not an empty silence, but a heavy, present one, filled with the sheer scale of the abyss. It is in this immense, silent world, far from the warmth of the sun and the noise of the land, that the ocean keeps one of its most beautiful secrets. It is not a creature, nor a jewel, nor a lost city. It is a place made, not of matter, but of sound, a hidden corridor, a secret channel where a whisper can travel across an entire ocean. Scientists call it the Deep Sound Channel, or the So Far Channel. It is a horizontal layer of water stretching across the globe, usually found at a depth of around 1,000 meters, where a unique combination of conditions creates a perfect pathway for sound. Above this channel, the water is warmer, and sound waves that travel upward are bent back down. Below this channel, the immense pressure of the deep sea squeezes the water molecules together, and sound waves that travel downward are bent back up. The channel itself is the point of perfect equilibrium. It is a place where the water is at its coldest and the pressure at its most forgiving for the journey of a sound wave. Caught between these two gentle, invisible forces, the push of pressure from below and the pull of temperature from above, sound cannot escape. It is trapped, guided along this invisible highway, traveling on and on with almost no loss of energy. Imagine a single, long, mournful note sung by a blue whale off the coast of Africa. In the upper layers of the ocean, that sound would scatter and fade within a few miles, absorbed by the chaos of waves and currents. But if that whale is singing within the deep sound channel, its song begins a journey of almost unbelievable scale. The sound wave, a delicate vibration of water molecules, is held within the channel as if by invisible hands. It travels not for miles, but for thousands of miles. That single lonely call drifts silently across the entire Atlantic basin, past the mid-ocean ridge, across abyssal plains, until weeks later, it might be heard by another whale off the coast of South America. It arrives not as a loud echo, but as a clear, perfect whisper, a ghostly remnant of a feeling sent out into the vast, dark world and received. This is not a metaphor. It is the physics of the deep ocean. It is a natural communication network, more vast and more elegant than anything humans have ever designed. For the great whales that swim these lonely depths, it is their entire social world. It is how they find mates across empty expanses of water. It is how they navigate and share information. It is a web of connection, woven from pure sound, stretching across the darkest and most silent parts of our planet. Think of it: a song that does not die, a message that does not fade, and a world that can feel so loud and yet so disconnected. The deep ocean holds a quiet lesson. It tells us that even in the most profound isolation, in the deepest darkness, there are invisible pathways that connect us. It reminds us that a single voice, sent out with intention, can travel farther than we can possibly imagine, reaching another heart in a world away. There, in the cold, pressurized dark, life is bound together not by sight, but by listening, by the patient sending and receiving of whispers that travel and never ever truly get lost. Now let us leave that deep, resonant darkness of the ocean and travel to another kind of silence, a silence found not in water, but in stone. Let us imagine ourselves standing at the mouth of a cave, a dark opening in the side of a hill. We leave the world of sunlight and wind and birdsong behind and step into the cool, still air of the Earth's interior. The air here is different. It is heavy, with the scent of damp earth, of wet stone, and of time itself. The silence is profound, a silence that has been waiting here for eons. It is a quiet so complete that you can almost hear the slow, patient work of the planet. Here, in the absolute darkness, far from the rush of seasons and the cycle of day and night, creation happens on a different time scale. It is a process not of sudden force, but of infinitesimal gentleness. Look up at the ceiling of this ancient chamber. From a tiny crack in the limestone above, a single drop of water is forming. It swells, slowly glistening in the imaginary light we cast upon it. It holds its perfect, round shape for a moment, 2 moments, a minute, and then, with no sound at all, it lets go. It falls through the still air and lands with a soft tap on the stone floor below, and then another drop begins to form. This is the heartbeat of the cave, a rhythm so slow it is almost imperceptible. But this drop of water is not just water. On its journey, seeping down through the rock from the world above, it has dissolved a tiny, invisible cargo of minerals. It carries within it the essence of the stone it has passed through, a small amount of dissolved calcite. As that single drop hangs from the ceiling, it interacts with the air in the cave. A tiny chemical reaction occurs, and the water releases a microscopic, almost non-existent amount of its mineral load. It leaves behind a crystalline ring of calcite, a circle so small it is invisible to the naked eye. Then the drop falls. The next drop that forms does the same, leaving another impossibly thin layer of stone in the exact same place. Drop after drop, year after year, decade after decade, century after century. Each one contributes its invisible offering, its ghost of stone. Slowly, patiently, miraculously, something begins to grow. A tiny, fragile, hollow tube of calcite, as delicate as a blade of grass, begins to extend downward from the ceiling. This is the beginning of a stalactite. Over thousands and tens of thousands of years, this process continues, unbroken, the slow drip of water, each drop leaving its crystalline memory behind. The structure grows longer, thicker, becoming a solid icicle of stone, an elegant cone pointing down into the darkness. And on the floor below, where each drop has landed, another structure grows. The splash from each falling drop deposits its own tiny mineral offering, and a stalagmite begins to rise, reaching upward as if in answer. There is no effort in this creation. There is no plan, no architect. There is only the simple, unwavering law of physics and the patient passage of time. The water does not hurry. The stone does not strive. It simply allows itself to be built. One microscopic layer at a time, a human lifetime might pass, and the stalactite might grow less than an inch. An entire civilization might rise and fall on the surface above, and down here in the silent dark, the stone icicle will have grown only a little longer. This is a monument, not to power, but to persistence. It is a physical record of patience itself. Each millimeter of its length is a library of time, holding the memory of countless drops of water, of seasons of rain that fell on the world above thousands of years before we were ever born. It is a quiet reminder that the most beautiful, enduring things in the world are often not made by force or speed. They are built by small, gentle, consistent acts, repeated over and over, with a patience that borders on the eternal. In our own lives, we often feel the need to rush, to build things quickly, to see immediate results. But the cave whispers a different story. It shows us the profound power of slowness. It teaches us that growth can be silent, that creation can happen in the dark, and that true strength is not about how fast you move, but about how long you are willing to wait. Here, in the heart of the earth, beauty is sculpted by the gentle act of letting go, one single, patient, perfect drop at a time. Let us now rise from the deep, patient darkness of the earth. Leaving the slow-growing stone behind, we ascend back through the layers of rock and soil and return to the vast, open world of the ocean. But we will not stay on the sunlit surface. Instead, we will journey once more into the deep, to a place where the story of life and death is told in a way so grand and so generous. It feels like a myth. Imagine again the midnight zone, the cold, the pressure, the profound and unending darkness. The seafloor here is a vast, empty desert, a landscape of fine, soft sediment that stretches for miles in every direction, seemingly devoid of life. Nutrients are incredibly scarce. The gentle rain of organic matter from the sunlit world above, known as marine snow, is thin and unreliable. For the few creatures that live here, life is a constant, patient wait for the smallest morsel of food to drift down from a world they will never see. It is a world of scarcity, of quiet desperation. But then, one day, something impossible happens. A shadow falls through the dark water. It is not the fleeting shadow of a predator, but something immense, something monumental. A great whale, perhaps a blue whale or a sperm whale, has died in the sunlit waters far, far above. Its long life has come to an end, and now its enormous body begins its final journey, a slow, silent descent into the abyss. For the creatures of the deep, this is not a tragedy. It is a miracle. It is a gift of life on a scale they cannot comprehend. The arrival of the whale on the seafloor is an event that will change everything. It is called a whale fall. As the massive body settles softly onto the sediment, the first wave of life arrives. These are the mobile scavengers, creatures like the ghostly white hagfish, ancient, jawless fish that look like eels arrive in swarms. They use their rasping tongues to burrow into the flesh, consuming the soft tissue from the inside out. Large, slow-moving sleeper sharks, some of the oldest living vertebrates on Earth, may drift in from the darkness, their movements deliberate and ancient. They tear away huge chunks of blubber and muscle. Giant isopods, like pale armored insects the size of a human hand, crawl over the carcass, their many legs moving in a steady rhythm. This first stage is a frenzy of feasting, a chaotic banquet in the silent dark that can last for months, even years. Eventually, the soft tissues are gone. All that remains is the skeleton, a vast, pale cathedral of bone lying on the seafloor. For the world above, the story would end here. But in the deep sea, this is just the beginning of the next chapter. A new community of creatures arrives, ones that are adapted to a different kind of nourishment. These are the enrichment opportunists. Thousands of tiny worms, crustaceans, and mollusks colonize the bones and the surrounding sediment, which has been enriched by the decaying flesh. They feed on the remaining scraps and organic matter, creating a bustling, vibrant community where once there was only empty mud. This stage can last for years. A small, thriving city built around the ghost of the great whale. And then, the final and most mysterious stage begins. The bones themselves become the source of life. A specialized group of organisms arrives to do something remarkable. They begin to digest the very skeleton. Certain types of bacteria start to break down the lipids, the fats stored deep within the whale's bones. As they do this, they release chemicals like hydrogen sulfide, the same chemical that gives rotten eggs their smell. This chemical, toxic to most life, becomes the foundation for an entirely new ecosystem. Creatures that rely on chemosynthesis, creating energy from chemical reactions rather than from sunlight, begin to thrive. Bone-eating worms, known as osedacs or zombie worms, appear. These strange feathery creatures have no mouths or stomachs. Instead, they send down a green, root-like structure that burrows into the bone, absorbing the nutrients directly. Clams, mussels, and snails that have formed a symbiotic relationship with chemosynthetic bacteria flourish in dense colonies on and around the skeleton. For decades, this skeleton is no longer a symbol of death. It is an island of life, a vibrant, self-sustaining oasis in the vast desert of the deep sea. It supports a community of hundreds of different species, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth, existing solely in these ephemeral, bone-built worlds. A single whale fall can create and sustain a complex ecosystem for 50, 70, even 100 years. Think of the sheer generosity of this process. A single life, lived out in the light, becomes the foundation for thousands of other lives in the dark. Death is not an end, but a transformation. It is a slow, patient release of energy, a gift passed down from one world to another. The whale, in its final act, becomes a garden, a city, a universe for creatures that would otherwise have never existed. It is a quiet, powerful reminder that life is a cycle, and that even in our ending, we can provide the foundation for new beginnings. It teaches us that nothing is ever truly wasted in nature, and that even the largest and most powerful beings ultimately return their energy to the smallest and most patient, continuing the great, silent story of life in the deepest, darkest corners of our world. Let us now leave the ocean's generous ghost behind and travel to a place that feels impossibly ancient. We move upward, not just in space, but in time. We are deep within the Earth now, in the silent, pressurized world of the planet's crust. Here, time is not measured in days or years, but in eons. The forces at play are immense. The process is unimaginably slow. It is a world of heat, of pressure, and of a slow, patient chemistry that has been unfolding since the Earth was young. Imagine a pocket of liquid deep within the rock. It is not water as we know it, but a superheated solution, a mineral-rich broth that has been trapped for millions of years. Within this chaotic, swirling liquid, countless atoms and molecules drift randomly. There is no pattern, no order. It is a microscopic soup of pure potential, but the conditions are slowly, imperceptibly changing. The temperature begins to drop, just a fraction of a degree over 1,000 years. The pressure shifts, and as this happens, something magical begins to take shape. The chaotic dance of molecules begins to slow, and a new force takes over the quiet, insistent law of attraction. A few molecules, by pure chance, bump into each other in just the right way. They lock together, forming a tiny, perfect geometric seed. This is the moment of inception. This microscopic seed, this first ordered structure, becomes an anchor in the chaos. It begins to call out to other molecules like it, not with a sound, but with an electromagnetic whisper. Other drifting molecules of silicon and oxygen are drawn to it, and as they arrive, they snap into place, not randomly, but in a perfectly repeating pattern. Slowly, silently, without any guiding hand, the structure begins to grow. It builds upon itself, molecule by molecule, layer by layer, extending its perfect internal order outward. This is the birth of a crystal. The process is one of profound patience. For thousands, even millions of years, the crystal grows in the absolute darkness. It is a slow, silent act of self-assembly. Each new molecule that joins the structure finds its exact, preordained place, guided by the fundamental laws of chemistry and physics. The crystal's internal lattice, a three-dimensional grid of repeating atoms, is flawless. This internal perfection is what gives the crystal its outer beauty, its sharp edges, its flat faces, its perfect geometric symmetry. An amethyst crystal, with its deep, calming purple, is built from silicon dioxide with tiny traces of iron. Each atom is locked into a hexagonal pattern that repeats and repeats and repeats for trillions upon trillions of iterations until a six-sided prism with a pointed tip emerges from the darkness. A quartz crystal, clear as frozen water, follows the same blueprint, a physical manifestation of pure order. There is no struggle in this creation. The crystal does not try to be beautiful. It does not strive for perfection. It simply surrenders to the laws that govern its existence, and in that surrender, it achieves a state of perfect form. It is a testament to the idea that order can arise spontaneously from chaos, that given enough time and the right conditions, the universe has an innate tendency to create beauty and structure. Think of the journey this crystal has taken. It was born in darkness and pressure, formed by forces we can barely comprehend over a span of time that dwarfs human history. It held its perfect form in the heart of the earth, waiting silently for millennia until geological forces slowly pushed it upward and erosion eventually revealed it to the light of the sun. When we hold a crystal in our hand, we are not just holding a beautiful stone. We are holding a piece of deep time. We are holding a story of transformation, from a chaotic liquid to a perfectly ordered solid. We are holding a physical representation of patience, of harmony, and of the quiet, creative power that lies hidden in the darkest places of the world. It is a gentle reminder that even in moments of chaos and uncertainty in our own lives, there are underlying patterns and silent laws at work. It suggests that if we can be patient, if we can allow things to unfold in their own time, a kind of natural, beautiful order can emerge from the seeming randomness of it all. The crystal does not worry about its own becoming. It simply becomes, and in its silent, crystalline perfection, it offers us a quiet lesson in trust. Now let us rise once more. Leaving the crystalline silence of the deep earth behind, we return to the surface, to a world of soil and sky, of wind and rain. We stand now in an open field, perhaps a quiet meadow or a gentle rolling hill. The ground beneath our feet feels solid, stable, and permanent. It is the very definition of stillness, the foundation upon which we build our lives. We call it terra firma, the solid earth. But this feeling of permanence, this sense of an unmoving world, is a beautiful illusion. The ground beneath you, the very continent upon which you rest, is not still at all. It is on a journey, a slow, silent, and impossibly grand journey that has been unfolding for eons. The earth beneath your feet is adrift on a sea of molten rock. Imagine the planet not as a solid ball, but as a delicate egg. It has a thin, brittle shell. The crust, which is broken into a mosaic of massive pieces called tectonic plates. These plates, some the size of entire continents, others underlying the vast oceans, are floating on a deeper layer called the mantle. The mantle is not liquid in the way water is, but it is hot and soft enough to move, to flow in slow, powerful currents like thick, boiling honey. These currents, driven by the intense heat escaping from the Earth's core, are the engine of our world, and they are carrying you and everything you have ever known along with them. This movement is called continental drift. It is a process so slow, it is completely invisible to us. The plate you are on right now might be moving at a speed of about 2 or 3 centimeters per year, roughly the same speed at which your fingernails grow. It is a motion so gentle, so imperceptible, that it feels like perfect stillness. But over the deep expanse of geological time, this tiny patient movement becomes a force of unimaginable power. It is a force that builds mountains, carves oceans, and has completely reshaped the face of the planet again and again. 200 million years ago, all the continents we know today were locked together in a single giant supercontinent called Pangaea. The land that would one day become North America was nestled against Europe. South America was tucked into the side of Africa. India was a distant island, far to the south, near Antarctica. The world was one land, surrounded by one ocean. But the slow, relentless currents of the mantle were at work. Deep beneath the surface, they began to pull the supercontinent apart. Rifts formed, cracks in the great landmass that slowly widened over millions of years. The ocean flooded in, creating new seas. The continents began their long, lonely journeys, drifting away from each other across the globe. The Atlantic Ocean was born, slowly widening, year by year, centimeter by centimeter. India began its long northward trek, a journey that would last for 100 million years, until it finally collided with Asia, with such immense slow-motion force that it crumpled the crust and raised the highest mountain range on Earth, the Himalayas. This is not a story. from a forgotten myth. It is the living history of our planet. The evidence is written in the rocks all around us. Fossils of the same ancient ferns and reptiles have been found on the now widely separated coasts of South America and Africa, a quiet testament to a time when they were joined as one. The mountain ranges of the eastern United States and the highlands of Scotland fit together like pieces of a puzzle, remnants of a single ancient mountain chain that was torn apart when the Atlantic Ocean opened. Even now, the journey continues. The Atlantic is still widening. The Pacific is slowly shrinking. Africa is splitting apart along the Great Rift Valley, a process that will one day create a new ocean. The ground is not static. It is a living, breathing, shifting thing. The world map as we know it is just a single frame in a very, very long film. Think of the sheer scale of this movement. It is a dance of continents, a silent geological ballet choreographed by the planet's inner fire. It happens with a patience that we can barely comprehend. It is a force that operates on a timescale where a human lifetime is less than a blink of an eye. This slow, steady drift is what drives the cycle of creation and destruction on our planet. It builds mountains, and erosion wears them down. It opens oceans, and subduction pulls the seafloor back into the mantle to be melted and reborn. It is a profound and humbling thought. The very ground we trust to be solid is in a state of constant, graceful flux. It is a quiet reminder that change is the most fundamental law of the universe. Even the most seemingly permanent things, the mountains, the continents, the very shape of the world, are temporary. They are all just momentary forms in a long, unfolding story. And we, in our brief moment on this drifting stage, are a part of that journey. We are passengers on a slow, silent voyage, carried across the face of time by the deep, warm breath of the earth itself. Now, from the grand, slow dance of continents, let us zoom in to something much smaller, much more intimate. Let us stay here in this quiet field and imagine that the long, dry days of summer have just come to an end. The sky, which has been a pale, cloudless blue for weeks, begins to darken. A cool breeze stirs the leaves, and then the first drops of rain begin to fall. At first, they are just a few, tapping softly on the dry leaves and dusty ground. Then they come faster, a gentle, steady drumming that seems to awaken something in the air. As the rain falls, a fragrance begins to rise from the earth. It is a scent that everyone knows, yet few can name. It is a clean, fresh, and deeply earthy smell. The smell of the first rain, after a long dry spell. It is the scent of the ground itself, seeming to exhale a sigh of relief. This beautiful, elusive fragrance has a name. It is called petrichor. Petrichor is not the smell of the rain itself. Rainwater is just water. It has no scent. This fragrance is a gift from the earth, a collaboration between stone, soil, and the life within it. It is a perfume that has been patiently waiting to be released. For this story, we must look even closer at a microscopic scale. In the dry soil, during the long weeks without rain, a certain kind of bacteria has been quietly at work. These are called actinobacteria, and they are some of the most common microbes in healthy soil. As they live and grow, they produce a chemical compound as a byproduct of their metabolism. This compound is called geosmin. It is the source of that distinctly earthy smell, the same scent we associate with a freshly plowed field or a handful of rich garden soil. The human nose is incredibly sensitive to geosmin. We can detect it at concentrations as low as a few parts per trillion. It is a scent that speaks to something very ancient within us, a primal connection to the living earth. During the dry season, the bacteria produce more and more of this compound, and it builds up in the soil and on the surfaces of dry rocks and clay. At the same time, plants in the area, to conserve water during the drought, exude certain fragrant oils that also accumulate on the ground. The stage is set. The earth is holding its breath, scented with these patient, waiting molecules. Then the rain comes. When a raindrop hits the porous surface of the dry ground, it doesn't just splash. For a fleeting moment, it traps tiny bubbles of air at the point of impact. These bubbles then shoot upward, bursting from the top of the droplet like tiny champagne bubbles. As they burst, they are launched into the air as a fine mist, an aerosol, and these tiny airborne droplets carry a precious cargo. They carry the geosmin from the bacteria and the oils from the plants. The petrichor we smell is this aerosol, this mist of earth scent, carried on the breeze for us to breathe in. It is not just one smell, but a complex bouquet. The sharp, clean scent of ozone, created by lightning in the storm, might mix with the deep, earthy base of geosmin and the greener, more herbal notes of the plant oils. It is the smell of the earth being cleansed, of life being renewed. Think of how beautiful and elegant this process is. It is a physical dialogue between the sky and the land. The rain is not just watering the earth, it is awakening, giving it a voice, a fragrance. The ground, in return, releases this scent as a kind of thank you, a sign that the gift of water has been received. This scent is more than just pleasant. It is a powerful signal for all of life. For plants, it signals the end of drought and the time to grow. For animals like camels in the desert, the scent of petrichor on the wind can signal the presence of rain from miles away, guiding them toward life-giving water. And for us, it is a deeply calming and reassuring smell. It connects us to the great life-affirming cycles of nature, the rhythm of drought and rain, of waiting and renewal. So the next time you are caught in the first rain after a dry spell, pause for a moment, close your eyes, and breathe in deeply. Know that what you are smelling is not just wet dirt. You are smelling a conversation. You are smelling the quiet, patient work of microscopic life, the fragrant oils of thirsty plants, and the gentle, physical magic of a falling raindrop. You are smelling the earth itself, breathing a soft, fragrant sigh of gratitude for the sky. Let us now turn our attention from the scent of the living soil to a single silent being that rises from it. We are standing in a quiet park, or perhaps an ancient temple garden. The air is still. Before us stands a tree unlike any other. It does not have the familiar needles of a pine or the broad, lobed leaves of an oak. Instead, its branches are adorned with delicate, fan-shaped leaves, a soft, pale green that seems to shimmer in the gentle light. In the autumn, these leaves will turn a brilliant, uniform gold, a final, breathtaking flash of color before they fall. This is the ginkgo tree. It is a tree that feels out of place in the modern world, a visitor from another time. And in a very real sense, it is. The ginkgo is a living fossil. It is a survivor, a lonely remnant of an ancient order of trees that has otherwise vanished from the face of the earth. To understand the story of the ginkgo, we must travel back in time, far beyond the reach of human memory. We must go back 200 million years to the time of the dinosaurs. In that ancient, humid world, ginkgo trees were everywhere. They flourished across the great supercontinent of Pangaea, their distinctive fan-shaped leaves casting shade on the giant ferns and cycads below. They were a common sight for the Stegosaurus and the Brachiosaurus. They were a part of the world's ancient green furniture. For millions of years, they thrived. They spread across the globe. As the continents drifted apart, they adapted and survived through countless changes in the Earth's climate. They watched as the dinosaurs rose to power, and they were still standing when a great asteroid fell from the sky and wiped them from the face of the planet. They endured the ice ages that followed, the slow, grinding advance and retreat of massive glaciers that reshaped the continents. One by one, all of its relatives, the other species in the ginkgo phyta division, slowly disappeared. They could not adapt. They faded into the fossil record, leaving only their faint impressions in stone. But one species, Ginkgo biloba, held on. It is a story of incredible resilience, of a quiet, stubborn refusal to disappear. By the time humans began to walk the earth, the once great ginkgo family had been reduced to the single, lonely survivor. Its natural range shrunk to a small, isolated region in the mountains of China. For a time, it seemed that it too might vanish, a final, quiet end to a story that began in a world we can barely imagine. But then something remarkable happened. The tree found a new partner in survival. Ancient Chinese monks and scholars, drawn to its unique beauty and its incredible longevity, began to cultivate the ginkgo in their temple gardens. They saw it not just as a tree, but as a symbol of endurance, of peace, and of a connection to a time long past. They cared for it, planted its seeds, and ensured its survival. From those quiet temple gardens, the ginkgo began its second journey around the world. Carried by human hands, it was planted in cities and parks across Asia, Europe, and North America. It proved to be an incredibly hardy tree, resistant to pollution, pests, and disease. It could thrive in the harsh, compacted soil of a city sidewalk as easily as it had in the ancient forests of the Mesozoic era. Today, when you see a ginkgo tree growing in a modern city, you are looking at a miracle of survival. You are seeing a life form that has bridged a gulf of time so vast it is difficult to comprehend. Each fan-shaped leaf is a perfect copy of the leaves found in fossils from the Jurassic period. It is not needed to change because its ancient design is a masterpiece of efficiency and resilience. Think of what this single tree has witnessed. It carries within its silent, living wood the memory of a world without flowers, a world of giant reptiles and volcanic skies. It has felt the slow drift of the continents beneath its roots. It has survived catastrophes that wiped out 99% of all life on the planet. It is a direct, living link to a world that is otherwise lost to us forever. There is a profound quietness to the ginkgo. It does not shout its age or its history. It simply stands, its delicate leaves trembling in the breeze, a calm, living presence in our hurried modern world. It is a gentle reminder that survival is not always about strength or aggression. Sometimes it is about patience. It is about having a design so simple and so perfect that it can endure almost anything. It is about finding a quiet corner of the world and simply holding on season after season, eon after eon. The ginkgo tree is more than a plant. It is a story, a poem, a silent meditation on the incredible persistence of life. Let us now shift our focus from the patient, living history of the ginkgo tree to the quiet pulse of our own bodies. We are no longer standing in a garden, but resting in a calm, still space. Let your awareness travel inward, past the surface of your skin, past the gentle rhythm of your breath, journey deeper into the silent, intricate world that exists within you. You are a universe of life. Your body is composed of an estimated 30 trillion human cells, a community of microscopic beings so vast and so complex It defies easy imagination, but you are not alone in this body. You are, in fact, an ecosystem, living on your skin, in your mouth, and deep within the winding passages of your gut is another, even larger community. This is your microbiome, a collection of trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microbes. In terms of sheer numbers, these microbial cells outnumber your human cells. You are more them than you are you. For a long time, we thought of these microbes as invaders, as germs to be fought and eliminated. We saw ourselves as individuals defending our fortress against a hostile outside world. But we are slowly beginning to understand a much deeper and more beautiful truth. These microbes are not invaders. They are our oldest and most intimate partners. They are an essential part of who we are. This partnership began at the dawn of complex life. Our single-celled ancestors formed symbiotic relationships with bacteria, engulfing them and putting them to work inside their own cells. The mitochondria that power every one of your cells today, the tiny engines that turn food into energy, are the distant descendants of those ancient captured bacteria. The story of life is not just a story of competition. It is a story of cooperation, of different forms of life learning to live together, to become something new and greater than the sum of their parts. Your microbiome is a living extension of this ancient story. The microbes in your gut are not just passive passengers. They are active participants in your life. They are a bustling, invisible city of workers, a chemical factory that performs tasks your own body cannot. They help you digest food that your human enzymes cannot break down, releasing vital nutrients and vitamins that you need to survive. They produce essential molecules that influence everything from your immune system to your mood. Think of your immune system. It is a powerful and complex defense network, but it does not learn how to function in a vacuum. From the moment you are born, your microbiome begins to train it. It exposes your immune cells to a vast array of friendly molecules, teaching them how to distinguish between friend and foe, what to attack and what to leave in peace. A healthy and diverse microbiome is like a wise and patient teacher for your immune system, helping it to remain balanced and effective. And the connection goes even deeper. The gut is often called the second brain, and for good reason. It is lined with millions of nerve cells, and it is in constant communication with the brain in your head, a conversation that travels along a superhighway of nerves called the vagus nerve. The microbes in your gut are key players in this conversation. They produce neurotransmitters, the very same chemical messengers that your brain cells use to communicate, including serotonin and dopamine, which are crucial for feelings of happiness and well-being. The composition of your gut microbiome can subtly influence your thoughts, your feelings, and even your behaviors. A healthy gut community can contribute to a sense of calm and resilience, while an imbalanced one has been linked to feelings of anxiety and stress. This is not to say that these tiny creatures are controlling you like puppets. It is a partnership, a delicate two-way dialogue. Your stress levels and your diet can change your microbiome, and in turn, your microbiome can influence how you respond to the world. Each person's microbiome is as unique as a fingerprint. It is shaped by your genetics, your diet, where you live, and who you interact with. It is a living, dynamic community that changes throughout your life. It is a reflection of your personal journey. So, as you rest here, feel the quiet, living presence within you. You are not a single entity. You are a walking, breathing community. You are a planet teeming with trillions of lives that are working in silent, intricate harmony to keep you healthy and whole. This is a profound and humbling idea. It dissolves the hard boundary we often draw between self and other, between our bodies and the outside world. The line is much blurrier than we imagine. We are woven from the threads of countless other lives, a tapestry of cooperation that stretches back billions of years. Remembering this can be a source of great comfort. The next time you feel alone, remember that you are never truly by yourself. You are carrying an entire world within you, a silent, invisible partner in nearly everything you do. You are an ecosystem, a collaboration, a miracle of shared existence, humming softly with the quiet, collective life that is you. Let us now lift our gaze from the living world within and turn it toward the sky. We are standing at the edge of the world, perhaps on a quiet beach with the gentle waves lapping at our feet, or on a high balcony overlooking a sleeping city. The day is coming to a close. The sun, a great golden orb, is beginning its slow descent toward the horizon. The world, for a moment, seems to hold its breath. This is the time of sunset, a daily miracle that we so often take for granted. It is a slow, silent performance, a celestial painting that unfolds across the vast canvas of the sky. As the sun sinks lower, the ordinary blue of the daytime sky begins to transform. It is a subtle shift at first, a softening of the edges, a warming of the light. Then the colors begin to appear. Soft yellows and pale oranges bleed into the blue like watercolor paints on damp paper. Then come the deeper, more dramatic hues, fiery reds, deep crimsons, and soft, dusty pinks begin to streak the clouds. The undersides of the clouds might glow with a brilliant, molten gold, while the sky above them deepens into a rich, velvety indigo. The world is bathed in a warm, ethereal light, a light that seems to come not just from the sun, but from the air itself. We watch, mesmerized by this silent, breathtaking display. But what are we actually seeing? What is this magic that happens every evening at the edge of the day? It is not paint. It is not fire. It is a conversation between sunlight and the air we breathe. It is a story told by physics, a poem written in wavelengths of light. To understand it, we must remember that the light from the sun is not just one color. It is a mixture of all the colors of the rainbow, a full spectrum of light from violet and blue at one end to orange and red at the other. Each color travels as a wave, with blue and violet light having very short, choppy waves, and red and orange light having very long, gentle waves. During the middle of the day, when the sun is high overhead, its light takes the most direct path to our eyes. It travels through the thinnest possible layer of the Earth's atmosphere. As this light passes through the air, it collides with the tiny molecules of nitrogen and oxygen that make up our atmosphere. The shorter wavelengths of light, the blues and the violets, are the perfect size to be bounced and scattered in all directions by these air molecules. Our eyes are more sensitive to blue than to violet, so when we look up, we see this scattered blue light coming from every direction. This is why the daytime sky is blue. The long red and orange waves, meanwhile, are less affected. They pass more or less straight through. But as the sun begins to set, the geometry changes. The sunlight is no longer coming from directly above. It is now coming toward us at a sharp angle from the horizon. This means it has to travel through a much thicker slice of the Earth's atmosphere to reach our eyes. It must journey through much more air and many more molecules. On this longer journey, the blue and violet light is scattered so much, so completely, that very little of it makes it all the way to our eyes. It is filtered out, sent off in other directions, leaving the sky in the west to begin its transformation. But the longer wavelengths of light, the oranges, The yellows, the reds are a different story. Their long, gentle waves are much less likely to be scattered by the air molecules. They can push their way through the thick atmosphere more directly. So, as the sun gets lower and lower, the light that finally reaches us is composed almost entirely of these longer, warmer wavelengths. We are seeing the light that has survived the long, arduous journey. We are seeing the resilient colors. The sky becomes a great filter, and what it allows to pass through is a spectacle of pure color. The clouds play a special role in this performance. They are like floating screens, perfectly positioned to catch this colored light. A high, thin veil of cirrus clouds can catch the last rays of the setting sun and glow with a delicate, fiery pink long after the sun has dipped below the horizon. The thick, puffy undersides of lower clouds can reflect the deep reds and oranges, creating a scene of incredible drama and beauty. Every sunset is unique. Its exact colors and intensity depend on the delicate, ever-changing dance of particles in the atmosphere. A little extra dust from a distant desert, a fine mist of volcanic ash, or a particular amount of humidity in the air can all change the way the light is scattered, creating a different masterpiece every single evening. Think of the quiet, gentle elegance of this process. There is no artist, no grand design. There is only sunlight, air, and the simple, unwavering laws of physics. The sky is not being painted. It is revealing the hidden nature of light itself. The sunset is a daily reminder that the world is filled with a beauty that is born not from complexity, but from simplicity. It is a slow, graceful transition from the bright, clear reality of day to the soft, mysterious potential of night. It is a moment to pause, to breathe, and to simply witness the quiet, predictable, yet endlessly surprising magic of our own atmosphere. Now, let us imagine the world has changed. The warm colors of sunset have faded, and a deep, cold stillness has settled over the land. The air grows quiet, and the temperature drops. A different kind of magic is about to begin. High in the atmosphere, in the heart of a dark, moisture-laden cloud, something delicate and beautiful is being born. The process begins with a single, microscopic speck. It might be a tiny grain of dust, a bit of pollen, or a particle of salt carried on the wind from a distant ocean. This tiny, invisible anchor is all that is needed. In the supercooled air of the cloud, where water vapor is abundant but has not yet frozen, this speck becomes a seed. A molecule of water vapor, a tiny, invisible trio of atoms, drifts by and latches onto the seed, then another and another. They begin to lock together, not in a random clump, but in a precise, ordered pattern, guided by the fundamental geometry of the water molecule itself. They arrange themselves into a hexagonal, six-sided lattice. This is the moment of inception, the birth of a tiny ice crystal. This initial crystal is a perfect microscopic hexagon, a simple and beautiful shape, but its journey has only just begun. As it begins to fall, tumbling slowly through the cloud, it is pushed and pulled by gentle air currents. It passes through regions of different temperatures and different amounts of humidity, and each subtle change in its environment influences how it will grow. If it passes through a particularly moist patch of air, new water molecules will rapidly freeze onto its six corners. The corners, sticking out farther into the water-rich air, grow faster than the flat faces. From these six corners, six delicate arms begin to sprout, extending outward, each one a perfect mirror of the others, all maintaining the fundamental six-fold symmetry of the original seed crystal. The simple hexagon begins to transform into a star. As the crystal continues its slow, spiraling descent, these arms can develop their own side branches. Tiny, intricate new structures can grow, always in a symmetrical pattern. The crystal might pass through a colder region, causing flat, plate-like extensions to form. It might tumble through a warmer, wetter layer, causing long, sharp needles to grow. The final shape of the snowflake is a perfect, frozen record of the unique journey it has taken through the cloud. No two snowflakes take the exact same path. They are born in different parts of the cloud at different times. They are carried on slightly different currents. They pass through infinitesimally different conditions of temperature and humidity, and because their final intricate shape is so exquisitely sensitive to these tiny variations, the possible number of forms is astronomical, so vast that it is a virtual certainty that no two complex snowflakes have ever been exactly alike in the entire history of the planet. Think of the quiet, patient artistry of this process. There is no sculptor, no designer. There is only water, temperature, and the silent, elegant laws of chemistry. Each snowflake is a masterpiece of self-assembly, a perfect little jewel created by chance and necessity. It is a fleeting, ephemeral piece of art, a form of perfect symmetry that exists for just a few moments before it lands and melts, its unique identity lost forever. When the snow begins to fall, we are witnessing a silent, gentle invasion of these tiny, unique miracles. We see a white blanket covering the world, but this blanket is woven from billions and billions of individual, perfect and unrepeatable ice poems. Each one has its own story, its own secret history of its journey through the sky. There is a profound lesson in the snowflake. It reminds us of the incredible beauty that can arise from simple rules, repeated over and over in slightly different conditions. It is a testament to the idea that the universe is a place of infinite variety, that even in something as common as snow, there is a boundless capacity for unique and individual creation. It teaches us that each tiny, fleeting moment, like each tiny, fleeting crystal, has its own unique and unrepeatable pattern, its own quiet, intricate beauty, and it is a gentle invitation to look closer at the world around us, to find the extraordinary hidden beauty in the small, the simple, and the silent. Let us now travel to the Trafel, a place where the sky itself seems to come alive. We are no longer watching the gentle descent of snow. Instead, we are standing in the deep, silent cold of the far north. It is the middle of a long winter night. The sun set months ago and will not rise for months to come. The landscape is a monochrome world of snow and ice, bathed in the soft, pale light of the moon and stars. The silence is absolute, a cold, crystalline stillness that seems to press in from all sides. But then, something begins to happen. A faint, greenish glow appears on the northern horizon. It is soft at first, a pale, ethereal wash of color, so faint you might think your eyes are playing tricks on you. But then, it grows brighter, stronger. It is not a cloud. It is a light that seems to be coming from within the fabric of the night itself. Slowly, gracefully, the light begins to move. It is not the movement of a cloud drifting on the wind. This is something else entirely. It is a slow, silent dance. Great curtains of pale green light begin to rise into the sky, shimmering and swaying as if they were made of silk, stirred by an invisible breeze. The light is alive. It ripples and flows, its edges soft and indistinct. Streaks of pale pink and soft violet might appear along the lower edge of the curtain, a delicate, fleeting embroidery of color. This is the aurora borealis, the northern lights. It is one of the most sublime and mysterious spectacles on Earth, a silent, celestial symphony played out in the upper reaches of our atmosphere. For millennia, humans have watched this display with awe and wonder, weaving it into their myths and legends. They saw it as the spirits of the ancestors, as the flickering torches of the gods, as a bridge to a celestial world. And in a way, they were right. The aurora is a bridge, a visible connection between our world and the fiery, violent world of the sun. This beautiful, gentle dance begins with a colossal explosion, 93 million miles away. The sun is not the calm, steady ball of light it appears to be. It is a roiling, turbulent star, a cauldron of nuclear fusion. Its surface is a tangle of powerful magnetic fields, and sometimes these fields become so twisted and strained that they snap, releasing an immense burst of energy. This is a solar flare, or a coronal mass ejection. It is an explosion of unimaginable power, flinging a cloud of charged particles, electrons and protons, out into space at speeds of millions of miles per hour. This cloud of solar wind travels across the void, a silent, invisible storm of energy. Most of it passes by our planet harmlessly, but our Earth has a shield. It has a magnetic field, an invisible bubble of force that surrounds our planet, stretching from the North Pole to the South Pole. This magnetic field, generated by the churning of molten iron in the Earth's core, protects us from the harshest of the solar radiation. As the solar wind arrives, it collides with this magnetic shield. Most of the particles are deflected, flowing around the Earth like water around a stone. But some of them are captured. They are funneled down along the lines of the magnetic field, guided toward the planet's magnetic poles in the far north and the far south. As these high-energy particles from the sun plunge into the Earth's upper atmosphere, the final, beautiful act of the drama begins. They are still traveling at incredible speeds, and they begin to collide with the atoms and molecules of gas that make up our air, mostly nitrogen and oxygen. Each collision is a tiny, microscopic transfer of energy. The solar particle strikes an oxygen atom, for example, and gives it a jolt of energy. The oxygen atom becomes excited, but it cannot hold on to this extra energy for long. To return to its normal, stable state, it must release the energy it has just received, and it releases it in the form of a tiny flash of light, a single photon. This is the source of the aurora's glow. It is not reflected light, it is light being created in the moment, 100 miles above our heads. The different colors we see are the signatures of the different gases in our atmosphere. When a solar particle collides with an oxygen atom high in the atmosphere, the atom releases its energy as a pale green or yellowish green light, the most common color we see in the aurora. If the collision happens with an oxygen atom at a very high altitude, it can produce a rare, beautiful, all-red aurora. When the particles strike nitrogen molecules, they can cause them to glow with a soft blue or a deep purplish red along the lower rippling edges of the curtains. The dancing, swaying movement of the aurora is a direct visualization of the invisible forces at play. We are literally seeing the shifting, flowing lines of the Earth's magnetic field made visible by this rain of particles from the sun. We are watching a cosmic weather pattern, a storm of energy made of light. Think of the sheer, silent grandeur of this process. It is a story that connects the heart of a star to the air we breathe. It is a violent, explosive event, 93 million miles away, transformed into a slow, gentle, silent dance in our own sky. The aurora is a reminder that we are not isolated in the universe. We are constantly bathed in the invisible energies of our star, protected by an invisible shield of our own planet's making. It is a display of physics so vast and so powerful, yet the result is a light so soft, so ethereal, so deeply and profoundly peaceful. It is the sky's quiet way of showing us the unseen forces that shape our world, a gentle, shimmering curtain drawn between the Earth and the rest of the cosmos. Now, from the vast, cold spectacle of the polar sky, let us return to the warmer, more vibrant world of the living. We are standing at the edge of a sun-drenched pond in the late summer. The air is warm and heavy, buzzing with the sound of insects. Reeds and cattails line the water's edge, and lily pads float on the still surface. And in this world of green and blue, a creature of exquisite jewel-like beauty darts and hovers. This is the dragonfly, with its long, slender body, its two pairs of intricate, transparent wings, and its large, multifaceted eyes. It is a marvel of biological engineering. It is one of the most ancient of all flying insects, a design so perfect it has remained almost unchanged for 300 million years. Its ancestors, with wingspans of over 2 feet, flew through the humid Carboniferous forests long before the first dinosaurs appeared. The dragonfly is a living piece of deep time, a tiny glittering relic from a world almost beyond our imagining. It is a masterful flyer, one of the most agile and efficient in the entire animal kingdom. It can fly forwards, backwards, hover in place, and change direction in an instant. Its 2 pairs of wings can beat independently, allowing it to perform aerial maneuvers that are the envy of our most advanced aircraft. But the dragonfly's story is not just one of ancient design or incredible flight. It is also a story of an epic journey, a migration so vast and so perilous that it seems almost impossible for such a small, fragile creature. We often associate long-distance migration with large animals, with the great herds of wildebeest on the Serengeti, or the massive flocks of birds that cross continents. We do not think of it in terms of an insect that weighs less than a paperclip, but certain species of dragonfly, like the globe skimmer, undertake the most remarkable migration on Earth. The story begins in the freshwater ponds of India as the monsoon season comes to an end. A new generation of globe skimmers emerges. They are driven by an ancient, instinctual call. The ponds where they were born will soon dry up, so they must follow the rains. They rise into the air, not in a dense swarm, but as a diffuse, high-altitude river of life, and begin a journey that will take them across the open water of the Indian Ocean. They are not powerful flyers in the way a bird is. They cannot flap their wings for days on end. Instead, they are masters of efficiency. They are gliders. They have an innate ability to find and ride the prevailing winds of the upper atmosphere, the trade winds that blow steadily from northeast to southwest. They climb to altitudes of thousands of feet, catch these invisible currents, and simply drift, conserving their precious energy for a journey of over 4,000 miles. This is a journey across a vast, empty expanse of water, with no land to rest on, no food to eat. It is a flight of pure endurance, fueled only by the fat reserves stored in their tiny bodies. Many will perish along the way, succumbing to exhaustion or falling prey to birds, but many will survive. After weeks of drifting on the high winds, they arrive on the shores of East Africa, just as the seasonal rains are beginning there. They have followed the weather, chased the promise of fresh water across an entire ocean. Here, they find new ponds, lay their eggs, and then their long journey comes to an end. But the story does not end. The eggs hatch, and a new generation of globe skimmers grows up in the African ponds. And then, as the seasons shift, and the African rains begin to fade, this new generation, born thousands of miles from the land of their parents, feels the same ancient call. They rise into the air and find the winds that are now blowing in the opposite direction, from southwest to northeast. They begin the long journey back to India, arriving just as the monsoon is beginning there, to lay their own eggs in the ponds where their ancestors were born. The entire migratory loop can cover over 10,000 miles, and it can take 4 or 5 generations of dragonflies to complete. No single dragonfly makes the entire round trip. It is a multi-generational relay race, a baton of life passed from parent to child across oceans and continents. How do they do it? How does a creature with a brain size of a pinhead navigate such a vast distance? How do they know which wings to catch, which direction to fly? We are only just beginning to understand. They likely have an internal magnetic compass, a way of sensing the Earth's magnetic field to orient themselves. They may be able to sense changes in barometric pressure, to know when and where the best winds will be found. It is a navigation system of incredible sophistication, programmed into their very being. Think of the sheer, quiet courage of this journey. A tiny, iridescent creature, a fragile jewel of an insect, entrusting itself to the invisible currents of the air, on a voyage across a hostile ocean. It is a story of incredible resilience, of the power of a collective, multi-generational effort. Each individual dragonfly plays its small, vital part in a much larger story, a story that it will never see the end of. It is a profound reminder that life is not always about the strength of the individual. It is often about the continuity of the whole. The dragonfly's migration is a quiet testament to the incredible power of instinct and to the deep, ancient connection that all living things have to the great planetary rhythms of wind, water, and seasons. It teaches us that even the smallest and most fragile of beings can be a part of something vast, epic, and enduring. Let us now return from the open sky to the quiet, shaded world beneath the trees. We are standing in a forest. The air is cool and still, thick with the scent of damp earth, of pine needles, and decaying leaves. Sunlight filters down through the high canopy in shifting, dappled patterns. It is a place of deep, cathedral-like peace. When we look at a forest, we see the individual trees, the ferns, the mosses, the occasional flash of a bird, or the rustle of a small animal in the undergrowth. We see a collection of separate living things, but this is only the surface story, the visible part of a much deeper and more complex reality. The true life of the forest, the intelligence in the heart of it, is hidden from our eyes. It is a secret, silent world that exists beneath our feet. Let us imagine we could shrink down and travel into the soil. We push past the soft, springy layer of fallen leaves and enter the rich, dark earth. And here, in the cool, silent darkness, we find a world that is not empty, but is woven through with a vast, intricate, and living network. It is a web of impossibly fine, white and silvery threads. These threads are called mycelium, and they are the true body of a fungus. The mushrooms that we sometimes see pushing up through the forest floor are just the fleeting, fruiting bodies of this organism, like an apple on a tree. The real, enduring life of the fungus is this vast, hidden network. This network is not just a random tangle of threads. It is a living, breathing, and communicating system of incredible sophistication. It is the forest's internet, its circulatory system, and its digestive system, all rolled into one. The mycelial threads of countless different fungal species weave through the soil, connecting the roots of nearly every tree and plant in the forest into a single, vast, interconnected community. Scientists call this the Wood Wide Web. This is not a metaphor. It is a biological reality. The fungus and the trees have formed an ancient and profoundly intimate partnership, a symbiosis that benefits them both. The trees, through photosynthesis, can create sugar, a rich source of energy, but they often struggle to find enough nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, or enough water in the soil with their roots alone. The fungus, on the other hand, is a master of absorption. Its fine thread-like hyphae can penetrate tiny pores in the soil and rock that tree roots cannot reach, unlocking vast stores of nutrients and water. So they make a trade. The fungal network physically connects to the roots of the trees, in some cases even penetrating the root cells themselves. Through this connection, the tree passes a significant portion of its sugars, its energy, to the fungus, and in return, the fungus passes the water and the vital nutrients it has gathered from the soil back to the tree. It is a fair and silent exchange, a form of biological commerce that has been happening in the quiet darkness for over 400 million years. But the connection is much deeper than just a simple trade. The network acts as a communication system for the entire forest. If one tree is being attacked by a pest, say a hungry caterpillar, it can send out chemical distress signals through the mycelial network. Other trees, even trees of a different species, can receive these signals and begin to ramp up their own defenses, producing bitter compounds in their leaves to make them less palatable before the pest even arrives. It is a forest-wide alarm system. The network also allows for a form of communal sharing. An older, taller tree with access to abundant sunlight, a mother tree, can send excess sugars down through its roots and into the network to be shared with smaller, younger saplings that are struggling in the shade. It is a way of nurturing the next generation, of ensuring the health and resilience of the whole community. A dying tree can even bequeath its final resources, sending its remaining carbon and nutrients back into the network to be used by its neighbors. In this hidden world of roots and fungi, the forest is not a collection of competing individuals. It is a single, breathing, cooperative organism. The trees are not alone. They are in constant, silent conversation, sharing resources, sending warnings, and supporting each other through this vast, subterranean web of life. The fungus is the quiet, intelligent architect of this community. It is the weaver of the threads that bind the entire forest together. Think of the profound implications of this. It changes the way we see the world. It suggests that intelligence and communication are not limited to creatures with brains and nervous systems. The forest itself possesses a kind of distributed intelligence, a slow chemical consciousness that resides in this hidden network. It is a form of life that is based on connection, on mutual support, and on the quiet, generous sharing of resources. It is a silent, powerful reminder that the most important things in life are often the connections that are hidden from view, the invisible threads that bind us all together into a single living whole. Now, let us zoom out from the intricate living web beneath the forest floor and consider an even larger, more fundamental cycle. It is a process so vast, so all-encompassing, that it touches every living thing on the planet, from the smallest microbe to the largest whale. It is a silent, invisible flow, a grand planetary breath that sustains the entire biosphere. This is the nitrogen cycle. We are surrounded by nitrogen. The very air we breathe is nearly 80% nitrogen gas. It is an ocean of it, an abundant and seemingly endless resource, and every living thing needs nitrogen. It is a fundamental building block of life. It is a key component of amino acids, the molecules that link together to form proteins. It is at the heart of DNA and RNA, the very blueprints of life itself. Without nitrogen, there could be no cells, no muscles, no leaves, no life as we know it. But there is a profound paradox. For most living organisms, including all plants and animals, the vast ocean of nitrogen in the atmosphere is completely unusable. The nitrogen gas in the air consists of two nitrogen atoms locked together by an incredibly powerful triple bond. It is a very stable and unreactive molecule. We can breathe it in and out all day long, but our bodies can do nothing with it. It is like being thirsty in the middle of a saltwater ocean. The resource is everywhere, but it is in a form we cannot use. For life to exist, this powerful bond must be broken. The atmospheric nitrogen must be fixed, meaning it must be converted into a more reactive form, like ammonia or nitrates, that plants can absorb through their roots. And this colossal, planet-sustaining task is performed almost entirely by a humble and invisible workforce. It is performed by bacteria in the soil, in the water, and in the roots of certain plants live tiny, specialized microbes that can do what no plant or animal can. They possess a special enzyme that allows them to snap that powerful triple bond and combine the nitrogen atoms with hydrogen or oxygen. They are the great alchemists of the biosphere, turning the inert gas of the air into the very stuff of life. Some of these nitrogen-fixing bacteria live freely in the soil. Others have formed an even more intimate partnership, a symbiosis with certain plants, particularly legumes like peas, beans, and clover. These plants have developed special nodules on their roots that provide a safe, oxygen-free home for the bacteria in return for a steady supply of sugar from the plant. The bacteria work tirelessly, pulling nitrogen from the air and converting it into a steady supply of fertilizer, which they feed directly to their host plant. It is a perfect, self-sustaining partnership. Once the nitrogen has been fixed by these bacteria, it enters the great cycle of life. The nitrates and ammonia are absorbed by the roots of plants, which use them to build their leaves, stems, and seeds. Then, an animal comes along and eats the plant. The nitrogen is transferred to the animal's body, where it is used to build its own proteins. Another animal might eat that animal, and the nitrogen is passed along the food chain. When a plant or an animal dies, its body is broken down by another group of microbes, the decomposers. These fungi and bacteria release the nitrogen from the dead organic matter back into the soil, where it can be taken up by other plants to begin the journey all over again. But the cycle is not complete. If this were the whole story, all the nitrogen from the atmosphere would eventually end up locked away in the soil and in living things. There must be a way to return the nitrogen to the air to complete the loop, and this final, crucial step is also performed by bacteria. A group of denitrifying bacteria living in the soil takes the nitrates and a series of chemical steps converts them back into the original, inert nitrogen gas, which is then released back into the atmosphere. This is the great, silent, and perfect loop of the nitrogen cycle. It is a dance of atoms, a journey from the air to the soil, to the plant, to the animal, and back to the air again. It is a cycle that is driven almost entirely by the quiet, invisible work of trillions of microscopic beings. Without these humble bacteria, the entire global ecosystem would grind to a halt. The forests would wither, the oceans would become barren, and life itself would cease to exist. Think of the sheer, quiet elegance of this system. It is a planetary scale process of recycling, perfectly balanced and self-sustaining. It is a beautiful example of how life creates the conditions for its own existence. It is a reminder that we are all, every one of us, participants in these grand invisible flows. The nitrogen atoms that are currently in your body, in the proteins that make up your muscles, and the DNA that makes you who you are, have been on an incredible journey. They have been part of the air, part of the soil, part of 1,000 different plants and animals over a span of millions of years. The nitrogen cycle is a quiet, humbling truth. It shows us that we are not separate from the world around us. We are an integral part of its great breathing and recycling systems. Every breath we take, every meal we eat, connects us to this silent, ancient, and life-giving dance of atoms. It is a dance that connects the sky to the earth, the living to the dead, and the microscopic to the planetary, in one beautiful, unbroken circle. Let us take one final journey tonight to a place that feels like the end of the world. It is a landscape of profound and almost absolute stillness. We are standing in the Atacama Desert, a high, lonely plateau that stretches along the coast of South America. This is the driest, non-polar desert on Earth. It is a place where the concept of rain is almost a foreign language. The air here is thin and incredibly dry. The sun beats down from a sky that is almost always a fierce, cloudless blue. The ground is a stark and beautiful tapestry of sand, salt flats, and reddish-brown, barren rock. It is a landscape that feels more like the surface of Mars than a place on our own green and watery planet. In some parts of this desert, there are weather stations that have never, in their entire history of operation, recorded a single drop of rain. Years can pass, even decades, without any measurable precipitation. Life here seems impossible. The silence is overwhelming, broken only by the faint whisper of the wind. There are no trees, no grasses, no sounds of birds or insects. It is a world stripped down to its barest elements: sun, wind, and stone. It is a place that feels defined by its absence, by what it lacks. It is the very embodiment of lifelessness. And for most of the year, for years at a time, this is the truth of the Atacama. The ground lies dormant, baked by the relentless sun, seemingly empty of all potential. Seeds from the few, hardy plants that are adapted to this world, lie scattered in the dry, dusty soil. They are not dead. They are waiting. They are tiny, patient vessels of life, holding their breath in a state of suspended animation, waiting for a signal that may not come in their lifetime or their children's lifetime. They are a quiet, stubborn hope buried in the dust. But then, once every few years, if the conditions are just right, something extraordinary happens. A rare and powerful weather pattern, an El Niño event, can shift the ocean currents and the winds, pushing moisture-laden air from the Pacific Ocean over this parched and thirsty land. Clouds begin to form in the impossibly blue sky, and then the impossible happens. It rains. It may not be a great storm, perhaps just a gentle, persistent drizzle that lasts for a few hours. But for the Atacama, it is a deluge. It is a life-giving flood. The water soaks into the dry, cracked earth, a long, cool drink for a land that has been waiting for an eternity. And the single, rare event is the signal. It is the whisper that the waiting seeds have been listening for years. Deep in the soil, something stirs. The water awakens the ancient, dormant life within them. A silent, urgent message flashes through their tiny sleeping cells. Now is the time. Within a matter of days, the transformation begins. The barren, reddish-brown landscape begins to show a faint tinge of green. Tiny shoots, pale and delicate, push their way up through the softened soil, reaching for the sun, and then the true miracle unfolds. The desert blooms. From one week to the next, the entire landscape is completely and utterly transformed. The empty, silent plains are suddenly carpeted in a riot of color. Millions upon millions of flowers erupt from the ground, creating a vast, shimmering tapestry of purples, pinks, yellows, and whites that stretches to the horizon. Species like the Pata de Guanaco, with its vibrant magenta blossoms, and the Anyanuka, a delicate yellow lily, cover the once barren hillsides. It is a silent explosion of life, a breathtaking spectacle of color and fragrance in a place that just days before was the very picture of desolation. The air, once filled only with the scent of dust and stone, is now sweet with the perfume of countless blossoms. The silence is broken by the gentle hum of bees and other pollinators who have appeared as if from nowhere, drawn to this sudden ephemeral feast. For a few precious weeks, the Atacama is no longer a desert. It is a garden, one of the most beautiful and surprising on the entire planet. It is a world reborn, a vibrant, living testament to the incredible resilience of life. It shows us that even in the harshest, most unforgiving environments on Earth, life is not absent. It is merely sleeping. It is patient. It is holding its quiet, fierce potential in reserve, waiting for the one brief chance to express itself. This phenomenon is called the Desierto Florido, the flowering desert. It is not just a beautiful sight. It is a profound lesson. It teaches us about the power of patience, about the incredible strength that can lie dormant in the quietest, most seemingly empty of places. It reminds us that life is a force of incredible tenacity. It can wait for years, for decades, through the harshest of conditions, holding on to its inner promise, its blueprint for beauty. And then, when the moment is right, it does not hesitate. It pours all of its stored energy into a single glorious and fleeting display. The flowers bloom, they set seed, and they entrust the next generation to the soil. Then, as the sun reclaims the land and the moisture fades, the blossoms wither and the desert returns to its long, silent slumber, once again holding its colorful secret, waiting for the next rain that may be years away. The flowering desert is a perfect metaphor for the hope that lies within us all. There may be times in our own lives that feel dry and barren, times when it feels like nothing is growing. But deep within us, like the seeds in the desert soil, our potential is not gone. It is just waiting. It is waiting for the right conditions, for a little bit of nourishment, for a signal to begin again. And when that moment comes, we too have the capacity to bloom in the most surprising and beautiful of ways. And now, as this final story settles gently into place, let the world around you grow quiet. We have journeyed together tonight, from the resonant depths of the ocean to the silent dance of the aurora in the sky. We have felt the slow, patient drift of the continents beneath us, and we have witnessed the sudden, glorious bloom of life in the driest of deserts. Through all these stories, a single gentle truth has whispered to us. Life is resilient, it is patient, and it is filled with a quiet, persistent magic. It finds a way, even in the darkest, coldest, and harshest of places. It waits, it adapts, and it holds on to its promise of beauty. You are a part of this story. The same quiet, life-affirming forces that create crystals in the deep earth and paint the colors of the sunset are at work within you. The The same resilience that allows a seed to wait for years in the desert soil is a part of your own being. You are woven from the same threads of stardust, of water, of patient, enduring life. So now as you rest, allow yourself to feel this deep and quiet connection. Feel your own breath, a gentle tide rising and falling. It is the same rhythm that moves the oceans and the air. Let your thoughts soften and drift, like seeds on a gentle breeze, ready to find a quiet place to rest. There is nothing left to do, nothing to hold on to. There is only this moment, this stillness, this gentle descent into peace. The desert is sleeping now, holding its flowers as a memory and a promise. The sky is quiet, its colors faded to a deep and starry dark. The whole world is breathing slowly, deeply, and you are breathing with it. Allow the gentle weight of sleep to settle over you, like a soft blanket of freshly fallen snow. Rest well, dream deeply, and thank you for wandering with us tonight.